At this juncture of this journey of Apparent Winds, being here is really significant. Like I can't say it enough that being home and then also knowing that we're leaving and we're not coming back here is huge. Being home after filming all these people and hearing all these stories has been really interesting.
Apparent Winds, an adventure of a lifetime. A global expedition dedicated to collecting stories of environmental and cultural preservation while conducting marine research aboard sailing vessel Resilience.
Lots of memories. What boat is this, guys?
Hote Henry. Jean-Henri.
J. Henry.
Rainwater, maybe? Yeah. Holy crap. And this was like the thing, right? This is like all the privacy you get. And it was perfect. It felt amazing. Yeah, it feels really weird and spooky and sweet to be back on here. Yeah, it's like going back into a dream. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love this boat.
This is the ceiling I painted. You know, for a while like I was alone on the boat after Zach took off, I was like the one person that was here all the time. And I started painting this. I just wanted like the one room. The head's easy and small and it doesn't disrupt too much. I wanted to paint the ceiling. And it's better than I remember. I like it. You know, it takes a long time to explain, but it's like a Marquesian story about this guy who, it's a long story, but basically the short one is, in order for his wife to fall back in love with him, he sneaks every day at the end of or every week he goes and gets a new tattoo. And like the children of the community or the people of the community once a week can get a tattoo from the priest. But every time, or I guess once a week, they could get they would do tattoos and you just get one. You know, you can't go all the time. Every week he would cover his up in mud and go and get another and cover it up in mud and go get another. And he looked disgusting and he was dirty. But then after the end of this entire process, he finally bathed and washed all the mud off his body. And he had like the most incredible like tattoos and he was just beautiful and like, yeah. I think the idea for me at least was that like he did something and went through this process and at the end of it became a better person, a more beautiful person.
It's really cool being in the Lowcountry. Last summer, we were up in the Northeast. We headed down here in late September, early October.
I was born in the Lowcountry in South Carolina. Grew up teaching sailing, grew up kayaking, oystering, just playing in the water all the time. I just fell, I guess, in love with my home and in love with where I'm from. And I went to college just up the road from where I grew up in Charleston. And when I graduated, I didn't know what to do, so I figured the best thing to do would be to learn a trade. So I learned wooden boat building. But the next thing that came was starting a nonprofit, teaching wooden boat building to kids and teaching kids about our identity and heritage and culture in this region as it pertains to the water and to the marsh and to all the things that I've fallen in love with. That's why I've been so interested in filming people and learning other people's stories about where they're from, is because I'm so in love with where I'm from. And I think it's really interesting then to think about, you know, what it means to be from somewhere, what it means to know a place as intimately as, you know, some folks do. I was with my buddy Zach. Time was hurricane season. We were just hanging out, stuck at the house for a while, and we got into deep conversations about perspective, about what life was. And this conversation sort of went on for days, and it got into the idea of we can only understand the world to a certain extent. We can only understand what we perceive. but maybe if we wanted to understand that question better of what is this life, if we could understand what we're on, this planet, and understand it and go around it, is how we started. And in that conversation over these several days of this hurricane coming through, we decided to understand the world better by sailing around it. We made a pact that from a year from that day, we'd leave. Not the best plan, just because it's hurricane season. But we did leave November 1st, basically a year from that day.
I felt like it was really putting to practice some of the ideas that we had played with, you know, in our idealistic sort of high school, college days of you can do anything you put your mind to, right? You hear that all the time, and it doesn't necessarily really mean anything until you make it mean something.
You know, from that point on, we worked backwards of what we needed to do to leave to go sail around the world.
The unknown was a massive element. I think we had an idea of what the trip would look like and what we wanted to achieve, but actually embarking on it and letting it unfold was scary.
We ended up finding a boat of a friend who, I knew the boat, it's a great boat, it was a Hinkley Bermuda 40, beautiful but needed some love and wasn't really being sailed that much. So I approached the owners and asked if we could work out a deal where if we fix up the boat, we could use it for 2 years to sail around the world and bring it back in the shape that we fixed it up to. And thank God they said yes. We figured out our route, but we also figured out, it just naturally happened. We came up with this mission of apparent winds, which was a metaphor for perspective. And we ended up working with another friend who worked with us to film the whole thing. And so now we had a boat, we had a film project, and we had a mission, and we took off.
Just in this moment, or 5 moments ago, we decided to go to the Galapagos.
And we realized we might make it across the Pacific with no fuel by the time we made it to Marquesas. So.
Why chance it? And so we stopped here, ready for a pleasant night's sleep. And the boat is just all night long.
We got through the Panama Canal, we got across the Pacific, and then while we were in the Pacific crossing, we had on sat phone messages coming in from home saying, oh, this COVID thing. We were like, oh, whatever, it's probably not a big deal. Oh yeah, coronavirus, because that's what we were calling it. By the time we made it to the Marquesas, across the Pacific Ocean, we were there for 1 week, and then we were told that the whole island shutting down, everybody had to go home, and Zach had fallen in love with a woman that he's now married to before we left. So when we found out that we were gonna be locked down or had to go home or had to do something, he decided to go home, which I totally supported, and I decided to stay.
Last night I didn't sleep that well. I woke up in a sweat. It just didn't sleep well. Before that I also was just having a hard time sleeping, and I was just putting stuff on a list of things I need to do.
I got to Hawaii, ended up meeting Graham, who sailed with us and helped get Resilient started in Apparent Winds on this new iteration. I mean, so many others, but also including Kiera.
I was in Hawaii on a work trip, and Tripp and I actually met on Bumble. So I wasn't really expecting that. We just got along swimmingly. And so I was supposed to be in Hawaii for a month and a half, and I ended up being there for 3 months. And we kind of did a little test run of sailing together. I didn't have much boat experience, but I did work on yachts previously, and so I knew a little bit about lines and fenders, and I was comfortable out on the ocean because I did a program in college living on a boat in the ocean. I feel like a lot of my life experiences led up to meeting Tripp and then being comfortable going on this adventure with him.
We hit it off and sailed all over Hawaii together. But there did come a time, and I remember it very specifically, where I said, you know, like, gorilla in the room, I think I said that, gorilla in the room, you're a marine biologist, my buddy Zach just left, he was our marine biologist. I need help filming, and I have room on my boat. You seem like you're free, do you want to come sailing?
agreeing to date Tripp is agreeing to sail the world with him. There is like no in between. You are either with him or you're not with him. And so I decided to be with him. We were doing a similar mission on J. Henry from when I met Tripp on. When we were in Hawaii, we saw this boat, and it was a sailing research vessel. And so that boat was really the inspiration for expanding this into a much larger project, and also adding more scientific elements and being able to charter the boat out to scientists so that they can conduct their science on the boat.
We first saw that boat and we were in Hawaii in 2021, and now it's 2024. We found another boat, we fixed it up, we bought it on the west coast in Seattle and sailed it up to Alaska, sailed it all down the west coast. Have done like 4 different refits, I feel like, at this point, but this one here in South Carolina is our last really big one. We've met with so many people, put so many miles under the keel. Right now, at this moment that we're sitting here, Kiera and I have always said this would be the real start to the project. Getting the boat from the Pacific to the Atlantic was really step 1 before we could really even get started. And so really, I feel like right now, this is really big. This is a big moment for us. This refit, and when we leave here, this is huge.
As for the mission now, you know, it's exciting to watch from afar and see some of the longer range goals that we talked about of, you know, documenting innovative responses to climate change, people on the local level working to make the planet a better place. To see that come to fruition in a way that, you know, we didn't necessarily get to for various reasons is exciting. And, you know, and it's kind of cheap now. I get to just watch the good stuff unfold without having to do any of the work anymore. So that's kind of nice.
At this juncture of this journey of Apparent Winds, being here is really significant. Like I can't say it enough that being home and then also knowing that we're leaving and we're not coming back here is huge. Being home after filming all these people and hearing all these stories and then coming back and sort of with those eyes has been really interesting. I can't quite, you know, bring into words those lessons learned, but it is really interesting. And it gets me really excited about what we have coming up.
If you want to access more content, consider joining our community on Patreon. You can find details in the video description. Thank you so much for watching.